Welcome you seven parents to this virtual parents evening and video recording of the slides from the evening. I hope you find it informative, and if you have any questions, please use the email addresses that are on these presentations to get in contact with the school. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to this presentation.
Hello, Year 7 Parents Evening. So this is a little bit weird. We're kind of, there's five of us here shouting into kind of different spaces and places to kind of come and talk to you. This is not the way we like to do things, but we thought we'd try and at least do something to engage with you as parents and the children around induction. So just a couple of things, I'll tell you who's here. So we have myself, Mr. Bond, I'm the head of school, Mr. Soga, who's the head of year, SPL as we call them, Miss McNamara, who has done a lot of the work around the transition, Miss Nichols, who will pick up parts of the transition as they come into school next year, deputy head teacher, and Mr. Milne, who is the deputy head of pastoral at Oxted School. What you'll see down the right hand side is a QA section, so there is an opportunity for you to ask questions. What we will do at the end is come back to those. They'll be kind of filtered and looked at by the team behind. Some of them may be private replies that will come to you, but some of them may well be that will air, and we think they're ones that apply to sort of all parents and good things to know. So hopefully, like I said, we'll try and get as much information across as we can in what should be, I think, no more than half an hour of your time. So I checked the scores, and there's no football on to watch tonight. It's only Brighton and Man City or Man U, and no one really supports them anyway. So Mr. Milne's a Palace fan, and I'm a Liverpool fan, so we don't really care about them. So my apologies if I offended anybody by that part, but hey. What we try and do then at Oxted is to excel and bring out the best in children and young people of all abilities, aptitudes and backgrounds, so they increase their life chances for their future success and fulfillment. So to wrap that up really into three simple things is we kind of achieve that by making sure that we have high quality teaching and learning, really effective pastoral systems, and creative, positive and meaningful relationships with students. We feel if we do those three things well, then those children will excel and go on to have better life chances than possibly ever before. One of the things I'm just going to talk to you then about is what we expect from our students, from you as parents, and then I'll just talk very briefly about then again what I expect from us as leaders and as our teachers in the school. Your students will hear us talk a lot about being respectful and responsible in everything that they do in terms of their learning, the way in which they behave to and from school, but whilst they're here as well. We also expect them to be what we call powerful learners. Powerful learners are 6 characteristics. They're creative, courageous, collaborative, reflective, resilient, and resourceful. We feel that if we create those types of students, then they'll be people who will be successful, not just in their exams, but going forward in life as well. We want you to be supportive, not just of your child, but of us as a school, to be invested in their education, but also then to work with us. I know for some of you, it's been an incredibly tough 100 days as it is today in terms of lockdown, having your child at home and having to educate them. I know for some of your year 6s, they have gone back to school, but for some of them they haven't. And I'm sure you have seen just how collaborative you have to be with the school now. I would like to try and carry that on. Maybe we're not so much of the burden, but with that still working relationship. What we then expect from us as a school is our teachers to be reflective, skilled and positive. So to be people who learn from everything that they do, to demonstrate to children just what we want from them, to be people who carry on with their lessons and then think about how they could do them better, to be experts in their field, to be skilled about what they're doing, and then to be positive about what they do and the way in which they interact with your child. My apologies for my eyes keep going. There's questions that come over here on the right hand side. It's hard not to look over there and try and work out what's going on, so I will try my best. One thing I think we have to try and acknowledge is this is very weird as well in terms of running events like this. So for leaders, what we need to be are people who are empowering. So we've done a lot of work over the last 6 months or 3 months even to make sure that we've empowered our teachers to embrace this new online world and to really roll with it and to do some really great work. To be trusted by you as parents with the students and the teachers, but also be thoughtful about what we do, not expect too much from people, to put too much of a burden on people, but to be thoughtful about your well-being, which is most important, especially at this time in these strange and difficult times. Brings me on to this thing, the coronavirus. Obviously, what we're talking about now and what we'll talk about, Mr. Soga will talk about in transition to school, is the plans that we have in place at the moment. Anyone who's been looking at the Huffington Post or TS, etc., may know that there are many different things that we may be expected to do in September. But our plans are all based on school being open as normal in September. We will adapt and overcome if those things have to change, and we'll make sure that we honour as many of the things as we can. And if we can't do it exactly the way that we said we'll do it in a way which we feel is just as good, if not better. But one thing I want to make sure that parents and students are aware of, and us as a school, it's not going to be an excuse. It is not going to be something that we're going to take as a reason why people can't do something, the reason why people aren't engaged in learning, or the reason why you can't solve simultaneous equations, the reason why you can't participate in sport. It is, yes, it's a thing that we've all been through, but it's a thing that we've all been through and we'll have to overcome. It is a case that we have to get back into good learning habits, to good behavioural habits, and we have to recover, rebuild, and then move on. And those will be the messages that we will send to our students right from the get-go. We will be compassionate about what we do. We will make sure that students come with us and that they are rebuilt, but we will move on, we will come back better, and we will come back stronger. Going back then to the idea of the transition, whilst we haven't been out to schools in a physical sense, Miss McNamara, who is on the call here, has spent countless hours sat in front of a computer talking with and liaising with all of the teachers and transition managers from all the schools that draw into Oxted to make sure that we have all the information that we possibly can to have a successful transition. And I just wanted to make sure that you know that we have carried on with that work, and that it is really valuable work that we take forward. And Mr. Soga, I know, has been looking through that work as well, as has our SENCO team, to make sure that it's brought forward into the new academic year going forward. What I'm going to do now, and again, we're going to try this because it's going to be a bit of technology, is I'm then going to try and put Mr. Soga up on the screen. So I've set him live, so he should be there. I'm now going to mute myself and hand over to him. He's going to tell me when he wants me to press his slides. So
sure.
He's an assistant.
I'll do like they do in the briefing and just ask for the next slide. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, Mr. Bond. Yes, it is strange. It's absolutely weird. I must say I was quite nervous for the idea of talking to a screen, not knowing who's out there, but hey, we'll give it a go. So yes, my name's Bevan Soga. I'll be the pastoral leader for your children next year in year 7. And that means I'm basically the head of year now. Most of my responsibilities will be in just making sure that they're okay and that they're as successful as they can be, and guiding them through their time here at Oxted. So the next slide, please, Mr. Bond. I'll introduce you to the rest of my team. So that's me on the left-hand side of the screen. In the middle, we have the deputy pastoral leader, Mrs. Smith. And on the right, we have the pastoral manager, Mr. Sophie Constable. So your child will see us throughout the year, and they'll engage with us throughout the year. We are the team that are here to support your children as we go along. Part of that, obviously, is working with tutors. So let me give you a breakdown of how the tutors are going to work. Next slide, please, sir. So with some of you might know this already, we have 5 houses in the school. You'll get to know their names in a second. 5 houses, and each house has 2 tutor groups. So your child will be both in a tutor group and in a house. Every tutor time will start at 8:45 in the morning. So that's the start of the school day. Your tutor will essentially be the first member of staff that they engage with in a classroom. We want those tutor sessions to be valuable. We really want them to be effective. So we're not going to make them a homework lesson necessarily. This is a lesson where your child can engage with their tutor, doing various things, doing various tutor activities, and they include activities that are there to do some character building. For instance, in the first part of the first term, we'll be looking at building your child's organization so that they are able to be successful in high school. And we'll do team building and house projects, and we'll also do data checks. So your child is aware of how their attendance is doing, how their behavior points or house points are doing, and they're constantly getting feedback about that. So those sessions are really, really important, and we don't want your child to miss out on that. Your tutor is also going to be the first point of contact, both for you and your child. I would like for you to contact your tutor first whenever you have something that you're concerned about, or something that you'd like to talk about or find out about. They're the person who you'll be able to contact first if you don't come to us first. And that means that your tutor group is basically going to be a home base for your child. We are very fortunate enough in Year 7 to have tutors that will be there every day except for days where they are absent. So we don't have any part-time staff. So your child should be able to see their tutor on a daily basis. Next slide, please, sir. Here are the tutors for the houses. So the first house is the greenhouse, the Tillons, and the tutors that we have there are Vicky Lester and Javon Miller. For the next team, we have Foyles. Foyles, we have Mr. Holloway and Mr. Eves. For Grants, we have Mr. Willard and Ms. Stewart. For Stockett's, we have Ms. O'Shaughnessy and Mr. Taylor Kublik. And then finally for Tenchleys, we have Mr. Owen and Ms. Ibogaya. So you will get to know which tutor is belongs to your child over the next coming days, but just so that you see their face, we've put their pictures up on the screen for you. Specifically with regards to transition, thank you, sir. The next slide. What we would like to do is get your child to meet their tutor. Ordinarily, in normal circumstances, your child would have had the opportunity to come into school for a day, walk around the site, meet some of the teachers, meet some of their fellow tutees, and most importantly, meet their tutor. Obviously, we can't do that in a normal way, so we'd like to do that virtually from next week. Monday to Friday, every house will have a specific day. The breakdowns will be on the next slide when we get there, but your child will have one session with their tutor for 30 minutes next week, and that'll be communicated with you by the end of this week. The house and tutor allocations, I'm sure that many of you want to know which house your child is going to be in and which tutor your child's going to be with. That it's a very complicated process, which we are coming to the end of. We have to make sure that every child has the right support, and that means they need to be in the correct house and the correct tutor. So that process is, I would say, 99% done. So you'll be able to find out by Friday who your child's tutor is and which house they're in. There's also going to be a transition page on the school website that'll include some information for you to access anytime that you need it. And on that will be a school tour video. If your child was able to come onto site, we would have walked them around the school, shown them which classrooms are where, given them a guide of, which classrooms are the science classrooms, which ones are the maths ones. So we've created a video that will do that virtually. So you'll be able to watch that video. And the good thing is you'll be able to watch that video several times. And I would suggest that perhaps it's a good exercise to sit with your child and do a rough map out of the school so that they're at least vaguely familiar with the site and which classrooms go where. For the Meet the Tutor sessions, we'd like for your child to do an About Me page. And this is a physical piece of paper that I would like for you to use. And on there to write what their name is, which primary school they went to, some of the things that they really enjoy doing, and if they're comfortable, they can share what they're nervous about or anything else that they really want to share. The idea is that they would come with some information about themselves to share next week in the Meet the Tutor sessions. I think it's way easier if you have something to read off a piece of paper than to be put on the spot and have to come up with something, especially when you're meeting people you've never met for the first time. So if you could do that, prepare a page with your child and get them ready to read that off next week, that'd be fantastic. And something else that we would have done had we all been at school would have been a tutor photo, where we would have had all the primary school kids together in their tutor groups with their tutor, and we would have taken a photo of them as their first ever photo together as a group. So we'd like to replicate that. Next week, your tutors will ask in the tutor sessions for your child to send a selfie and email a selfie of themselves to the teacher. Now, of course, we would need your permission for that, and we're hoping that by you hearing this, that if you allow your child to take that selfie, you'll be comfortable with that. And we would like for you to engage in that process as well. So we would like for them to include something in that photo, whether that be their primary school uniform, whether that be the colors of their house, or just a picture of them, a funny picture or something like that. Each tutor will have their own flavor. You'll send that through to your tutors next week, and we'll compile them into a collage that we'll put up either in the year team's office or in the actual tutor bases. We're not going to share this online. It's not going to go into the website, onto social media at all. It's just for us to keep as a keepsake, as a memory that we'll be able to share with them in year 11. Yes, so the next slide, please, sir, shows which which days we have the different Meet the Tutor sessions on. They all run from between 4 p.m. To 5:15 p.m. So there are 30-minute slots. Monday will be the Tillants group, Tuesday will be the Foils group, Wednesday will be the Grants group, Stockett's on Thursday, and Tenchley's on Friday. We'll make sure to put this on the website or into an email so that you'll have access to this as well once you find out who your child's tutor is. Next slide, please, sir. Moving on to September, the difficulty is that the school is still waiting for guidance on exactly how everything will work. So I can't answer to you what tutor groups and what your child's experience will look like in September yet. But one thing that I can say is that for the whole term, we'll be focusing on creating ways in which your child can settle into high school quite comfortably. And we'll be giving them physical strategies, we'll be guiding them, showing them the rhythms of the school to be able to settle in as quickly as they possibly can. And in my experience, I find that year 7s tend to settle pretty comfortably within the first half term. So we'll be hoping that they'll be doing the same. There will obviously be space for them to make mistakes, not knowing where to go and all of that, but we'll be there to guide them. We also want to help them build good habits, whether that be socially or academically. We want to be able to show them what's acceptable at school, what's acceptable between friendships, and also what's acceptable in academics and in different classrooms. There's also going to be a period of adjustment academically and socially, whether that be for your child adjusting from primary school to high school. The expectations are obviously going to be higher. With every transition, there's going to be a greater demand. So we want to help them adjust to that demand of work delivery, both in and out of school, and also the social expectations and interactions with teachers. But then the school will also have to be adjusting academically as we're coming out of a time that we've never experienced before. So there will be a period of adjustment, and we do ask for you to work with us. As Mr. Bond said, we would love your support in trying to figure this out as well and creating the right environment for your child. The next slide, please, sir. If you have anything that you'd like to talk with us about or make us aware of, before September, there is a way that you're able to contact us. We would suggest that you contact the front desk, and the front desk will send your email or whichever information you send us to the relevant parties, whether that be myself or the SAN team or the safeguarding team, and they'll be able to triage that quite quickly for you. Otherwise, you're welcome to email me. That's my email address in the second line, or Ms. Smith, the deputy pastoral leader, that's in the third time. So anywhere between now and September, you're welcome to email those addresses. From September on, I would love for your first port of call to be your tutor. So if you have any concerns about your child, you're welcome to send a message to your tutor, and your tutor will contact us, either respond to you if they're able to, or forward it to us. If you have any concerns about anything else or anything that is particularly sensitive, you're welcome to contact us, and we'll pass you on to the relevant team to be able to support you if we can't do that ourselves. The next thing, so if you could move to the next slide, please, would be how can you prepare your child to stay on top of things in September? Well, I think the first thing and the most important thing is to start building good habits and routines. Obviously, please do have a summer vacation. Don't wake your child up at 6 a.m. during the summer. I don't suggest that at all. But as we get ready for September, something like waking them up in the morning and cleaning a room or something like that, that would be a normal habit during the school term, is a really good way to get them prepared mentally for that. And building those routines would be great. And continuing that into September, having them come home, have something to eat and sit down and do some homework for a while on a daily basis is a really good way to stay on top of things. That's something very practical that you can do. Something else that's very practical is to check in with your child every day, whether that be checking their school email addresses and just seeing what information they might have received via email. We find that students are not the best. Maybe they've become better now, but before lockdown, I don't think my students were really good at checking their email. So as a parent, I believe you probably check your email more than your child does. So it's a very good skill to get them to do. Check their emails for them and get them to do the same. You'll be able to log on to Frog and see whatever tasks has been set for the next week or the next term. You'll be able to access. You'll also be able to access things like their attendance and behavior and rewards on Frog as well. And you can also just have conversations, whether that be in the car on the way to school or from school, or if that's around the dinner table, just checking in on how their day was and making sure you ask about specific things during the day. Something else that you can do that's really practical and might help is to check their books off and get them to bring their books home and see how their learning is going. It's quite key that that we treat their books as a journal of their learning. It's a record of how they're doing in lessons, and it's really evident those who are involved and engaged in class by looking at their books. And that's something that I would encourage you to do as often as you can once we start using them in September. Something that you can also do is, if you hear something from your child and you're unsure about it, or if you've seen something on social media, from the school's social media, and you're unsure about it, please do ask. Ring into the school or send us an email and ask if you're not sure. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Something else that you might want to do is to make sure that you're aware of information evenings for parents, progress review evenings. Make sure you attend that. It'll really help you to stay on top of what's happening with your child in particular, but also with other information in the school. And lastly, I'd encourage you to reward your child for things that you believe they are really doing well in. You know them better than we will, so you'll know when there's a vast improvement that we might miss, or something that they've really been struggling with that we wouldn't know about. You'll be able to acknowledge those better than we would. So please do figure out some sort of reward for your child, whether that be just a McDonald's on a Friday night because they got the most house points this week. That'd be fantastic. And just some closing thoughts from me. If you can move to the next slide, please, sir. I think we'll say this as often as you can throughout the year. We are, you and I and the school we're all a team, and that includes your child. We do want the same things. Every teacher wants your child to succeed, wants to do the best that they can academically. We can't avoid the fact that we are an academic institution, but we also want them to succeed socially. We also want them to do the best that they can in engaging with people and developing other skills like compassion and empathy, as well as practical skills like public speaking or research ability, anything that we can teach them at school. So we all want the same goals. And the image that you see on the screen that looks a bit like a nuclear symbol is something that I stole from my primary school. I want you to think of it not like an atomic symbol, but rather as three bands that overlap. And you'll see that the upright band is, let that represent your child. One of the other bands can represent yourselves as parents, and the third one can represent teachers and us as a school. We all want to overlap, and in that middle bit is where we want to see the success. And we all want to work together to make sure that that middle bit stays the most prominent part. We want to see your child succeed in everything that they do. So please do work with us. We will work alongside you to achieve that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Soga. So just to pause for a second, just some of the questions that have come through before I hand over to the next person. Yeah, all of these slides will be available, as well as the video of this will come through and be posted on social media so that people can get hold of it. So the next thing I will do, Mr. Soga, I will take you off the screen in a second, and I will tell you when you are free. So next person you have coming on your screen is Mr. Milne, Deputy Head Teacher. Ms. Milne, you are now live. So
thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's very strange. I'm sitting in a room in my house, and normally if I was in front of you all in a hall with several hundred people, I would be actually excited and not nervous at all. But I'm in a room with a cat, and I'm actually feeling quite nervous. I'm speaking to you guys out there. I would like to say to you it's nice to see you, but obviously I can't see you, but that's something that I will be looking forward to. Could I have the next slide, please? Okay, so obviously Mr. Soga's spoken at length about the year team and about what he's going to do working with you to help your sons and daughters to be the best they can be. Another key part of Oxted, if you aren't familiar, is this idea of 5 houses. So I know Mr. Soga spoke about the different names. You can see in the picture in front of you there that when your son, daughter comes to the school, they'll be given a tie, and the tie represents the house that they'll be part of. So they'll be in year 7, and year 7 will be divided equally between the 5 houses. The 5 houses come from the local manor houses in the area, and that's really a feature of the school back when it started. So we want to keep that going. What's going to be different? I guess the difference is that Mr. Soka is going to be working with your sons and daughters for their specific needs as a year group as they move through the school. What the house is going to do is enable them to maybe develop other skills which they might not necessarily get in the lessons as normal. So things that they'll be encouraged to do is get involved in Interhouse, and Interhouse won't just be sporting, it will also be non-sporting, and you can expect at least 2 non-sporting Interhouse activities each half term, as well as 2 sporting activities each half term as well. And it's a chance for your sons, daughters to really make a contribution to the houses they're in and feel part of not just the school, but a part of their house. Other things that the house can provide is charity events. Each house will have its adopted charity. That charity will be selected by the students. So the students will decide what they want to support, what group or organisation they want to support, and they'll go about raising money to support that particular cause. Another way they work as the house is they'll be doing sponsored walk. I say would be, they would normally be. Are they at the moment? No, but sponsored walk's another part where they get that sense of being a group, not just a year, but all years, so they'll feel integrated in that. And another big disappointment from this year in the COVID is that if you know anybody that's currently in year 8, the big disappointment they're having is not being able to go to year 8 camp. And I hope that by the time your sons and daughters get to year 8, they'll be able to experience a week away in the New Forest, again, developing things, finding out about themselves outside of the classroom, and really understanding about what they can do rather than things they can't do. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm lucky enough to be work with the Foxes, or the PTA as it's called. And what the PTA is doing, or Foxes are doing, is raising money, and in particular we're raising money for an area of land that's behind our science block, which it looks like the images on the left hand side. It's a piece of land that's not doing much at the moment, and the big hairy plan, as I call it, is the artist's impression on the bottom right. We're looking to try to create a well-being centre and garden, and kind of acknowledges that a lot of the challenges that young people face, and broadening it out from the school, also people in the community, to create a centre that people could use, perhaps to bring a bit of balance back, to help them with the challenges that they face, both in school and people outside of school. The kind of events that they organise are on the screen there. There's quiz nights, we had an ABBA tribute night, there's balls every sort of biannually, summer music fest, the fair, Christmas extravaganza, and something that might interest you, which is a second-hand uniform sale. Could I have the next slide, please? Okay, I'm going to leave it up there. The things that you can do, as Mr. Soga said, about working with us, is if you're able to get involved with the Friends of Oxford, the Foxes. There's loads of ways you can do it. We have regular meetings every half term. We put on events, try to put on events every term in order to raise money, but also to create a sense of community within the families of the children that come to our school. Another way is we're part of the Tandridge Lottery, so that Wellbeing Garden, if you buy a lottery ticket there, you'll be supporting this cause. Again, we've got an easy fundraising website, which is matched by employer if you do that particular bit. We've also got a refreshment team who work out the school shows productions. You could volunteer for part of that. If you are interested or think I want to know more about it, the email address on the screen there is the way that you can get in touch with us. And if whatever it is you think you can offer, or ideas you've got, if you send that in, obviously we'll invite you to come and speak to the group, be part of the group, join us on the group, and then you can make that positive contribution as well. The next event's on there, which is the second-hand uniform sale, and that's Thursday the 9th, 3:30 to 5:30, and it's around one of the Foxes houses outside, of course. But again, you've got an opportunity there if you need any uniform as your son or daughter come to school. Next slide, please. Another one of my hats is I'm also the designated safeguarding lead at Oxford, which is an incredibly serious part of any school. What I would urge you to do at any point, if you've got concerns about the safety of a pupil, maybe it's someone you know, maybe it's someone your daughter or son knows you've got concerns about, I really would appreciate if you use that email address on the bottom of that slide. And my bit would be is that if you see something, say something, and if you just let us know, we can then follow it up to make sure that that young people are being protected, aren't being put at harm. So that's an important part that you can play. And the last slide really sums it up from me in terms of safeguarding, is don't think, what if I'm wrong? Do think, what if I'm right? And that's really important. If you see something you think, and don't tell us about it, and there was something that wasn't right, then we've missed an opportunity to help that young person. So I know that, as Mr. Soga said, we're going to be working closely together. It's really important, not just for your son, daughters, but if you know things, or you're thinking that something's not quite somewhere else, if you let us know, then perhaps we can intervene and help that young person who's maybe in a spot of bother. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Mr. Miller, I'm going to come back at you at the end of this for a really bad father joke, because he's been learning them as he's been going through to keep our spirits up. So get prepared. Last couple of things from me then really are, we had some questions coming up and down the side. It really is a case of don't panic. I know I've had my 2 children at home and been homeschooling them. It's tough. It's been difficult, and I'm a teacher, and it's incredibly difficult. So, but it isn't all going to be lost. Your children have got 7 years to catch up on any learning they may have missed, and any social interactions that they have missed. It isn't a case that there isn't anything that we can not overcome together. And most importantly, actually, we will do everything, like we said, to make sure this transition is as normal as we can for them. We are really sad. Today is generally one of our favourite days in school, to get to meet the young people, not only because they come in so small, but kind of in 3 months' time they're so huge. It's really nice for us to kind of meet them the first time as these young people that come in all these different colour jumpers, and by the end of that first month back, they aren't different colour jumpers, they're Oxford students. I'm going to pause for a second, because there is a 30-second delay on this from when I speak to when you hear me, but I'm going to ask if there are any questions that you want to ask. As you do that, I'm just going to stop and go through. I'll wait for the questions to come up, but I'm just going to show you some of the work that our students have been producing whilst at home, just to give you an idea of the fact that actually remote learning, whilst not the ideal and not perfect, and I can't wait for my children to go back to school, trust me, you know that they can do some amazing learning whilst at home. So what you can see going through here, sorry, my one last things, there's a couple of, if you have questions, but I know people have alluded to these before, some of the work that our students have been doing has been truly amazing. So I'll just wait for the questions to appear down the side. I know Ms. Nichols has been kind of answering some of them as they go through, but I will then. Are there any themes, Ms. Nichols, in terms of what people you think we could, just rather than reading through them, that we could possibly summarise for people first?
Yeah, absolutely. I think sort of key themes have been, will this information be published so that they can go back through it? And it absolutely will be on the website for them to get through. I've said we're working on just about to launch a transition page dedicated to year 6 to 7 transition for this year, so that we've got that information. One of the questions you might want to answer, Mr. Bond, is about how students are going to be taught, in terms of, will they be taught in tutor groups? Will they be staying together with people in their house? I know that obviously all of this is a little bit awaiting government guidance, but just from your planning.
So from our planning at the moment in time, they will be taught initially in their groups as they come through, so then we can assess them to look to set them, and we'll do that as not as necessarily as quickly as we possibly can, but we will look to do that as a way in which we can do that effectively. I know somebody asked a question about, will they be given tests as well? What we're really mindful is, what we don't want to do is, they've not been in school. I know some of them have, my apologies, but they've not been in regular school for a long period of time. What I don't want to do is then walk through the door and literally sit them behind a desk and give them a test. I don't think that's a way to inspire young people or to really get them enthused about education. But we will have to, at some point, give them a test to help us assess kind of not only the things that they can't do, but the things that they can do more positively, so that we can adjust our curriculum accordingly and take things through like that. So I know that might answer 2 of the questions that have come through at the same time. One of the questions that's just come through I can see is, how quickly you engage with the SENCO now? take the address that you've been given there and address with the SENCOs, the team will be more than happy to address and to work with you right from the get-go. And that goes the same thing with Mr. Soga and his team. I'm going to look to see if he nods, which I think he probably will do. If you've got any emails or anything or any concerns about that in terms of your child coming into school and you want to ask a question, I know that him and the team will be more than happy to take questions, to engage with you guys, to be the conduit to kind of get you involved and get you to know the tutor, just so you can then have that point of contact as well. We feel that the most information that we can have, or more information that we can have, the better we can help look after your young people. And one of the things I didn't say at the beginning, but is so true, is that we don't take you picking Oxford School lightly. It is, you've placed trust in us as an organisation to look after the most valuable thing that you own. And Mr. Mill may think that his bikes are the most valuable thing that he owns, but he has 2 children, and those are all valuable. Trust me, for a man who's had his bike stolen this week, pesky children, they aren't as more important as your children. So, like I said, we don't take that lightly either. So, are there any other questions, Ms. Nichols, that you think have come through that we need to answer?
Yeah, you've got a few more. If you look in your published, there are a few more there.
Okay. Incredibly anxious about transition. Do you have any help for us to deal with that yet? Like I said, if you can get to email the transition team, they will be able to then reach out to you, and even if it's a case of setting up a phone call or contact or an email to you as a parent and the child, we can then help and do that as well. Just going down the list, do you know what house my daughter is in? So they will receive that information by the end of the week, Mr. Soga, is that about right?
That's correct, yeah.
So you'll know which email to be in. How will social distancing work between different groups and different lessons? The honest answer about that is I don't know. I think the best way to be able to at the moment is to be honest about everything that we have. We have yet to receive our government guidance. I know there was something leaked into the press yesterday, but that's a leak and not the official guidance. When that comes out, we will review that and work out how our school will operate in those new normal times. As soon as we have that information, we'll make sure that you as Year 7 parents are involved in that communication and understand how that will work. It may be a case that we might have to do another one of events like this, just to make sure that we can take questions from parents. But what we want to try and do is make sure that we communicate with you as much as possible, because we think that's a really important part about the whole of this COVID situation, is about knowing what's going on and keeping you guys up to date as much as we can. Are we delaying the start of term? Not at this moment in time, but we do normally have 2 days at the start of term where there are Year 7s are in for the first day by themselves, usually with just Year 12. So that's generally around about 400 students in total on school site. So Year 7s can find their ways around. And then they have Friday when a majority of the other students come into school, but it is a case that they will have that day just to the school to themselves. How many children? So just about 300 students are coming in September, but those numbers change. They sometimes go up and sometimes go down. Will the usual induction fortnight be in place for Year 7s? So yes, as much as we can. What we usually do is take students to and from lessons for the first couple of weeks, early lunches and things like that to help them, like Mr. Soga said, build the right routines. As many of those things that we are allowed to do in the new normal, we will carry on doing to make sure that is possible. The slides we've already answered. How many people will be in class? Ms. Nichols answered that, but 28. Will we know the tutor? Yes, we'll know the tutor sessions. My apologies, I'm reading and talking, which for a mathematician isn't easy. Do you have an app? No, it's just the website. Again, the anxious child, like I said, email us straight away, get on contact with us if you have any queries. You can, at this moment in time, I think you will be able to bring your daughter on the first day, or any child. We have, like I say, just because it's Year 7s, we have a setup that means they will be dropped off in the main hall. That's our usual operating procedures. Like I said, we'll have to see what our new operating procedures will be, and if there are any changes to that, we will obviously contact you and let you know. Medical addition, like we said, transition team, please make sure you know, get in contact with them as soon as possible. How many lessons a day? 5 hours a day. Yeah, it's going to be difficult, isn't it, for some of them when they've not had 5 hours a day at home, and getting back into that session of 5 different lessons and moving to and from them, but they will soon get back to them. Stationery, we have a list of ideally the things that they should have will be on our transition packs on our websites. Just look at Miss McNamara to nod at me to tell me that's true. She is, so perfect. But the most important thing I'm going to tell you as a mathematician is buy a scientific calculator, and buy the scientific calculator that we suggest. I've got 3 mathematicians in the background nodding at me furiously. It is the best one to buy, and it will serve them all the way through pretty much to A-level when they choose to do maths at A-level, because it's obviously the best subject there. I'm making Miss McNamara and Mr. Soga very happy, by the way. Apparently the pupils are not allowed to take their blazers off. Is that true? No, basic students are allowed to take their blazers off in hot weather, but they do kind of go from one to the other. One to lessons with their blazers on. It's during lessons they can be asked to take them off. But again, we're not too draconian about all of those 2 things. Duke of Edinburgh usually starts in, so will my children be able to take part in Duke of Edinburgh? That starts in year 9, so we hope to be still doing that, like Mr. Milne alluded to. Hopefully before that, be lots of experiences, things like camp, sponsored walk that your child can also get involved in. Do we need to buy a maths calculator? We answer that one. Do the children stay in their house for the first year of learning the same class, straight room? It's not in the same room, but they are in the same house throughout. So once you're in Foyles or Tillons, that's your house for the next 5 years or 7 years, because we expect them to be us all the way through to their O-levels. So yes, that's it. You know, you quite literally pin your colours to the masts. What are the homework expectations? So like Miss Nichols has said, there's about 30 minutes of homework per week for English, maths, science and languages, then about 35 to 60 minutes fortnight for the rest of the subjects. What is the current teacher turnover rate, please? It's very important that children have consistency, particularly in their first year. So we have a very large staff, and at this moment in time, I think it's about 20 staff are leaving us, which is well below the national average this year. It's actually been a very low year in terms of turnover of staff for our school. But we have been able to, through mediums like this, engage with and recruit people from other schools and from other trusts around the school and working with them. So we are at this moment in time staffed. Do girls wear tights, or is there something else they can wear? So they wear skirts and they can wear either tights or socks with them. That's up to them. But again, they are sold from SWATs or trousers.
Mr. Bond, there's also a question for that about the trousers, because I think on our website it says that girls need to wear the trousers, the specific trousers on the SWAT's website, and boys can wear any black trousers. Did you want to make a comment on that?
No. They should. Sorry, go for Ms. Nichols.
I think that the reason why is because it's much harder to get the properly straight-legged, sort of slightly loose-fitting trousers from other places. And that's why we've specifically put the SWATs ones on. It's about the style, because that style is very difficult to get hold of elsewhere.
So generally for boys, the problem we have is in terms it's nothing denim, nothing with studs and short and trousers like that, please. How many breaks do you have? We have 2, a morning break and then a lunch break. Can you add a second email address for the school? Send information from, there's that. We've added that there. Which subjects are you set from? I mentioned that one earlier. Will children be allowed to wear face coverings if they live in vulnerable groups? Again, we'll wait for the guidance about what they say about face coverings and things like that. But if there's something that makes a child feel safe in school, I'm certainly not going to, at this moment in time, stop them from doing it. For example, with our year 10s that we have on site at the moment, they are allowed to wear face coverings if they want to. I can't think of one that does, but they are more than welcome to, and they are certainly encouraged to wear them or have to wear them when travelling by public transport. Like I say, the one about what my daughter's not with her friends, so we've made sure, and like I say, the information that Miss McNamara has hopefully been able to gather is making sure that we have at least put people in friendship group as much as kind of that. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so there is a chance, obviously, for everyone, and I've been dealing with the allocations personally to make sure that we can get everybody to the right place, and of course it is as Ms. Nichols says, not an exact science. We have done our best, but of course there will be those who, for various reasons, won't be able to be with the people that they requested. What I can say is that there will be social times that they'll be able to be with them. We'll make sure that they'll be able to do that during social time. So please do let them know that they will not be restricted during those times. They will be able to see their friends throughout the day as well.
And I think one of the things that you'll find is after a week, they're they aren't friends from St Mary's or from a school. They are, you know, from Edenbridge, from Lingfield. They are friends of Oxford School, and they soon become friends together. So actually, it isn't too much of an issue around that. The water bottle part. So yeah, again, we do encourage students to have water because it is obviously good to be hydrated going through everything else. I'm just looking at the new ones. If there's anyone, is there anything else there, Miss Nichols, that you think I need to go from that haven't then already been answered? There's one question about information about buses. I know Miss McMorris here, and we had a conversation earlier. That information should come out from Surrey directly to you as parents. We have chased them for a deadline on when that's going to come. We have not had that back yet. So we will continue to chase around deadlines on transport, etc. One was about phones. Your child can bring your phone to school, but when they get to school, they have to put it away. And that's from 8:45 to 3:10 when they leave. If their phone is seen, it is taken and put in the front of school where they can collect it at the end of the day. On their first instance, as this ramps up, they can then make sure that they don't keep their phones. They have to be kept for longer. So if your child keeps bringing their phone to school and is not having them, then they may find that you have to come collect them. So we want to teach them to be responsible, like I said, and respectful young people, but they need to make sure they use these things effectively.
There's a question about behaviour and a question about sports teams and one about buses.
I think I did the buses one, amount of transport. What sports teams are there in year 7? Anything from, you know, girls football, boys football, rugby, basketball. There's cheerleading, there's dance, there's all of those things.
Cross country running.
Cross country running. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything out. Rugby, basketball. If there's a sport that goes on, then pretty much it takes place in terms of that part to it. There's feedback from ex-teachers quite commentary about being but their biggest challenge was dealing with bad behaviour in class. Is there something you're dealing with, addressing differently moving forward? We haven't changed or developed our behaviour policy in terms of to be more reflective. What we found when I joined the school 18 months ago was that students were getting consequences for their behaviour, but they weren't necessarily understanding why. And now if you think about that for a second, if you get a detention, but you don't know why you got the detention, you're not going to change your behaviour the next time you in that classroom. So we make sure that actually there was a learning process to this. And again, go back to those principles of what we want our children to be. We want them to be respectful and responsible. So the thing that we ask them to do is take responsibility for their behaviour, to be respectful about what they do, and to then learn from it. That's the process we've been going through. It's been effective in terms of changing students' behaviour. As in all these things, it's a development system. It's why we're doing that. We have invested in a behaviour system and team around that to make sure that your child's learning and is not disrupted by people who do not want to or are not necessarily engaging in learning. So that's something we take very, very seriously. Seeing if there's any more questions, Mr. Mill, Ms. Nichols. I said would be 30 minutes, we're now at 48. So I'm very conscious. So one last thing I'll do then is, Mr. Mill, what's your joke for me?
My joke for you? You're joking. You were going to give me the joke.
Oh, I thought you were going to
I was waiting for you to give me that joke. I've been on tenterhooks waiting for the joke.
Oh, I can't remember it now. I can't remember. I was expecting you to come with your...
I can give you a joke if you want.
Hit me with it. Go for it. Whilst we're waiting to do any more questions.
Why didn't the owl take his girlfriend out in the rain?
I don't know, Mr. Mill. Why didn't the owl go take his girlfriend out in the rain?
It was too wet to woo.
I think on that bombshell, we may join this to an end. I'm just looking again to everything. My son is learning English in primary school. Can this continue at school? Yes, we do have students who come out for lessons and with the music department. Again, what I suggest you do is if you email through to Mr. Soga and the team, he can then pass it on to the music department, and that will be something they'll be able to set up going through. Perfect. Again, I feel a little bit weird. I was sat in my office with no one around me, looking at a camera, waiting for questions to come through. But as there's not been some for a couple of minutes, I'm going to say a massive thank you to all of you for giving up your evening to listen to us at home. I hope it's been informative. I hope it's been something that's helped in terms of your child coming through. And we'll be able to then hopefully go from that part of it. Oh, there's 2 more questions come through. My son asked what happens if he gets in trouble, what type of punishment will be expected. Doesn't like being in trouble, but he's curious to think. Again, there were for example, there are detentions, contact home, reflections, as we actually call them, instead of detentions, so that they can, like I say, learn from the behaviour they've got. But there are, or in all things, there are escalations. If a child doesn't behave, they could go and report to Mr. Soga, to the tutor, etc., to try and help them learn and to build on their learning and make sure that they don't carry on with these habits, which I'm sure they don't want to. The other part then was a question. There's one question that came in there, Miss Nichols, which was about
buddies. I sort of mentioned it earlier, but it does depend a little bit on what the government guidance is. Historically, what we've done is that the students report to the main hall on the first day. They have a bit of time with us, introducing them to what's happening, and we take them then back and forth from the main hall to their lessons and accompany them. They walk around the school and they get to know it, and eventually they get fed up with us taking them places because they've already understood it better than we do, and they ask us to leave them alone and they just go to their lessons. If we are not allowed to amass them together in the hall, which I think is probably actually quite likely, but we're literally just waiting to see, we will rearrange how we do that, but we will still make sure that we get them to the right places. If it's that individual groups get picked up and taken from one place to another without going to the main hall, that's what will happen. We've got a number of ideas and plans in our head, and we're just waiting for the guidance before we make a confirmed plan. But they will have people to support them. They will have older students assigned the role of making sure that no year 7s are lost, that they know where to go. They will have places allocated that they know they can always go back to there and get help if they're unsure. And we do a register at the start of every session. If there's somebody not there, we will go and look for them. So it doesn't happen that students get lost, and I don't believe that it will happen again this year because we look out for them a lot. But it just may be slightly different if you've got if your child has siblings at school, their induction might have looked slightly different, but the essence of it will be the same.
Could I also just say that that the video of the school tour can also be used even when September comes around. You'll be able to map out if you have your timetable, or you can create a mock timetable of lessons and just track your way through the school as well. So that'll be something that you'll be able to use as well when the time comes, if we aren't able to create any system like the ones we've had before.
Dear all, thank you very much for coming or listening to this event. Again, it's been great to talk to you, and I hope you can appreciate we're trying to make sure that this new normal transition encompasses all of the great things that we've had previously before. Don't forget that if there are any questions you do have, either email into the school. I hope that most of them will be covered by the induction booklet that was also sent out to you, but also on the webpage that we're going to set up in the coming days, just to try and capture some of the key points that we have around transition and give you as much information as we possibly can. We can't wait to meet you in September properly and to see your young people walking through the gates and becoming Oxford students for the next 7 years. So once again, thank you very much, and we really look forward to seeing you soon. Stay safe.